Chairman, are you ready to begin the meeting?
Yes.
Public, folks, please stand up. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, Master of Arms, I have my report for the meeting. First, as folks who have been here before, previously we every month make announcements in the public sources about the upcoming meeting. Our typical approach, obviously, for the local area: Weirton, Steubenville, Martinsburg, Morgantown, and overall just again Charleston for our announcement of our meetings. We should note also briefly that we actually have one small case where we were flagged by the West Virginia State Secretary of State for not getting our announcement in sufficiently for the public. Typically it's at least 5 business days, but because of this special meeting, we kind of messed that up a little bit. So if anybody wants to slap my hand or elsewhere, certainly feel free. Second order of business, one of the things that as we evolve as an organization, the position of Master of Arms is more than actually just one individual. We will be evolving an actual staff associated with that. So my first announcement as the Master of Arms is that we have in fact appointed an alternate Master of Arms also to support the growth of this function. So I would like to introduce Jessica Doak. So Jessica's back there, so she'll be assisting me and others to support the functions of the Master of Arms. In an organization like this, the Master of Arms actually serves 3 principal roles. First, we mentioned in the last meeting the role of security, the importance of ensuring the deliberations, the sanctity of the organization. We mentioned and recognized the effort of, for example, the Master of Arms in Canadian Parliament for his efforts to defend Parliament during that case of the intruder that occurred a month ago. The second function of the Master of Arms and staff is the area of administrative support. We provide, as an organization, support to the board, which has been ongoing. As you can tell, for example, not only all the different handouts and things that you get, but also in line with the meeting and special areas that are being discussed, we attempt to bring copies of information for your edification. And also part of that I'd like to recognize our website, the WAPAinc.org website, provides an exhaustive, comprehensive source of information about the actions, areas of the port. That is a source that I've been, like most of you, been looking at different corporate websites and other things over the years, and I've I've seen very few that have can match the information content of that source. So again, as part of the public record, as part of the information for the public, enormous resource to be mentioned. And the work, particularly of MJ here. And the third function, just to mention clearly, is that the Master of Arms Office is also responsible for ensuring an oversight of the deliberations and actions of the board and its committees in terms of being in line with standards and the laws of the state, sunshine laws of the state of West Virginia, Robert's Rules of Order, and other functions where we are responsible for ensuring both the training and the actions to make sure that things are consistent with those standards. Again, it's part of the public stewardship of the organization and our role. So at this point in time, we are supporting the actions of the board, and this month we will be kicking off full support for individual committee meetings that are occurring, in fact, for all 4 of the operating committees of the organization. I believe that is it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Marty. I know Joe, Mr. Duco has an announcement in the announcement sections for the volunteer meeting.
Hi, everyone. We will still be having our volunteer meeting on Saturday at 9 a.m. The location will be sent to all volunteers tomorrow morning. We'll determine the actual location of it, but it's still on for 9 a.m. Saturday morning. Okay? Thank you.
And before we get into this, we have a few guests in the room, and I want to point out we have Dennis with the Weirton Area Museum and Cultural Center. They do a great job down there for keeping track of all the historical activities of Weirton. We've got U.S. Bank representatives, Conrad Morris and David Alexander, in support of the financial side. We have some interested and partners, in a sense, with some freight work with Fraley and Schilling. Tom and Ken Schilling back here. Tom, I don't remember your last name.
Firkeny.
Firkeny, that's it. We've Bruce Clark is in-house counsel for Office of Executive Director out of Bailey Wyatt. Joe Stankiewicz, Joe's always here. He's Mike Bellato is the Vice Chairman of the Weirton Area Port Authority, Inc. nonprofit. We have Don Mogan with Hellman Worldwide. Don's been participating with us for a few months, 6, 8 months probably by now, and learning more about the processes and the logistics aspects. They do a lot of logistics work for us. I think I hit the key. Yes, and with that, we'll go to the roll call. Let's start over here. Farley Wood.
Here.
Ed Littlejohn.
Here.
Dan Spahn.
Here.
Doug Bellegal.
Here.
Mark Galiptis.
Here.
Santos Santoro.
Here.
And I have John Dietz. John, did you make it on the phone? I don't think he's going to make it. And Dan Spicker is under the weather. So we do have a quorum. So with that, I'll move to the next item. Let's take a look at this, though, the attendees. So we still have 4 of the 6 core board members have TWIC completed. 3 of the core board members have been sworn in. We have to set up the meeting for the swearing in of the rest of the board. We have committee oversight, the same sponsors. Finance is Dan Spickard. Operations, Doug Bellegal. Asset is John Dietz, and labor is Santos Santoro. They're the sponsors, not the chairman, but they're the public board sponsor of those committees. They'll be chairman of the committees and Master Arms support. And then ex officio TWIC. I know Farley's got his TWIC. I don't know if Ed, you got yours? Okay, and Dan, not yet? Okay. Next would be...
I have one other thing.
Oh, go ahead.
Last month you did ethics statement signing. There's one not signed.
One not signed for the group?
For everybody signed there, but Sandra, you still have to.
Yeah, he's been out, so we'll do that. Okay, good. That's good. That's good. We're almost done with that. I guess, go ahead, next slide. And this is where I'll need a motion to adopt the agenda as it is written.
Make that motion.
Santo first, second. Ed Littlejohn. Any comments or questions? I'll make a little comment. We will probably shuffle the Q&A. How's the agenda have it? I think the Q&A is before the executive session or after?
I think so.
We're going to do it before, so everybody doesn't have to wait in case some people have to leave. All in favor of approving the agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the agenda passed. Next is on to the minutes from October 29th, the October 2014 public meeting. Need a motion to consider these minutes.
Motion?
Doug, motion, second. Farley's got the second. Any comments or questions on the minutes from last month? No comments or questions, all in favor of approving the October 2014 public meeting minutes, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Okay, now we'll move into the resolution activity here, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 resolutions. I'm gonna read all these. All right, so for the first one, what I want to do is I'm going to read the resolutions, and then we'll do the motions to bring to the table and discuss, so everybody knows what we're talking about. So the first one is Board Resolution 93, which is extension for the interim executive director. This is authored by the Office of Executive Director, introduced by Doug Belagal. It's aligned in reference Resolution 42, 57, 58, 64, 71, and amended Resolution 14. The Weirton Area Port Authority this says written consent. Sorry, Weirton Area Port Authority written consent to extend the current interim executive director appointment to April 30th, 2015.
Doesn't it say?
No, it says 14, so we're going to edit this here. Anyway, so Weirton Area Port Authority to extend the current interim executive director appointment to April 30th, 2015. Whereas the WAPA Board amended Resolution 71, 2013, approved on July 30th, 2014, extending the appointment of Mr. Carl Keffer IV through October 2014. And whereas the search for an executive director is ongoing, the board has received interest to its advertisement for filling the position. Now therefore let it be resolved that the board authorizes and directs WAPA's chairman to extend the appointment of the interim executive director from November 1st, 2014 to April 30th, 2015. And further resolve the interview process for the selection of qualified candidates be moved to the Labor and Human Resources Committee. In witness thereof, the undersigned. Okay, so now can I have a motion to consider Resolution 93?
A motion?
Doug, motion, second.
Second.
Santos, second. Comments, questions on extending our interim executive director? With no comments or questions, all in favor of approving Resolution 93, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show that Resolution 93 passed.
I just got a text message that John Vargo is on the bridge.
He's on?
Yeah, he is on.
He was on, isn't
He's on the bridge.
he? Yeah, I know, he's on. John, are you on here? Okay, yeah, okay, good, we got you. Want to make sure we have you. Thanks. All right, so that's, what were you bringing me?
See, yes.
Yep. All right, Resolution 94. This was the Weirton Area Port Authority Board Resolution for the purpose of appointing John R. Vargo as an ex officio board member. Whereas the board recognizes that the current bylaws are being reviewed, and it is the sense of the board that including ex officio board representation from the local port district to include businesses affiliated with WAPA would expand the breadth of the experience on the WAPA Board of Directors. And whereas the board is facing near-term important events and decisions requiring the board to expand its breadth of knowledge and thus is taking immediate action on this interim assignment. And whereas WAPA board members have received and reviewed John R. Vargo's qualifications and his role with Da Vinci Solutions LLC and Tri-State Port Management LLC represents significant private investment in the WAPA public-private partnership. Therefore, let it be resolved that the WAPA Board of Directors appoints and submits for diligence John R. Vargo as an ex officio board member to the WAPA Board of Directors with the same rights and privileges to include voting as a member of the Board of Directors outlined in the WAPA bylaws, and therefore let it be resolved that John Vargo's presence at a WAPA board meeting does not constitute or prevent a quorum, and therefore let it be resolved that this appointment expires automatically when John R. Vargo is no longer affiliated with Da Vinci Solutions, LLC. Can I have a motion to consider Board Resolution 94?
A motion?
We'll give that to Mark, he hasn't had one yet. Second? Farley seconds. Comments, questions for the board with this ad? No comments or questions. All in favor of passing Resolution 94, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show that 94 passed. Did 93 come by here yet? No, that's the minutes. That's good. That was 90. Yes, sir, John. Oh, John's on the phone, by the way. Go ahead.
I just may say to the board, I think many of you know me already, and for those of you that don't, I've been involved in the project for restoration and care very much about this project, and hopefully be able to contribute more to it in this new role, and I thank you very much.
Yeah, and I want to add, when I started with the Port Authority and we moved into probably the end of the first year and began the federal project and the public-private partnership review, John's been involved since 2010 with me, and I think previously involved in the West Virginia project with Eastern Panhandle too. So he's been a great asset so far, and a great add to the board. All right, so Resolution 95. Maintenance concession for the Pike Island Pool Intermodal Rail Terminal. This is authored by Office of Executive Director, and the references, there's a list of them. 2012 WAPA, 2012 Master Plan, Board Resolution 27, Small Business Mentorship Program. 28 is restricted access to port facilities and mandate use of TWIC. 34 is WAPA support for union representation. 40 establishes public commercial heliport seaplane base. Written consent number 8. It was a submittal for special rail and intermodal enhancement fund application. 63 was local port district critical infrastructure key resource protection. 65 is support of the Veterans Mission Continues Program. 77 procurement of commercial insurance. And 81 Customs Trade Partnership Against Terrorism, CTPAT. A Weirton Area Port Authority Board Resolution for the purpose of issuing a maintenance concession for the Pike Island Pool Intermodal Rail Terminal Facility. Whereas WAPA Board recognizes that the Pike Island Pool Intermodal Rail Terminal property, Where WAPA Board recognizes that the Pike Island Pool Intermodal Rail Terminal property closing is nearing completion, and as such, WAPA is interested in offering a suitable and qualified affiliate a maintenance concession that includes the maintenance, demolition, scrapping, painting, and other improvements made to the Pike Island Pool Intermodal Rail Terminal facilities. And whereas WAPA, by the adoption of BR 28, 2012, has established its requirement that all persons supporting, utilizing, and accessing port-related facilities must obtain and utilize DHS Transportation Worker Identification Credentials, TWIC. Whereas WAPA has published the goal to establish a foreign trade zone, and under BR 81, 2014, has authorized the Office of Executive Director to establish a CTPAT program, among other actions. And whereas WAPA under Resolution 63 declared certain infrastructure with the local port district as critical infrastructure key resources, and whereas the Critical Infrastructure Information Act of 2002 authorizes the protection of CIKR, Critical Infrastructure Key Resource Information, and the United States Department of Homeland Security satisfies the requirements of this legislation under the Protected Critical Infrastructure Information Program, PCII, and the Automated Critical Asset Management System, ACAMS, ACAMS. Therefore, let it be resolved that the board authorizes the executive director to negotiate a maintenance concession with a qualified affiliate. The concession or contract shall be performance-based and shall, 1, include a base contract term of 5 years with 2 5-year options, extensions. 2, will include strict program management controls to ensure all activities of the concession holder relating to the contract are done for public benefit. And 3, to assure the contract meets the requirements for filing with the Federal Maritime Commission under the procedures of the Shipping Act, Title 46, Chapter 4, Subchapter B, Part 535. And 4, it says 5, and 4, ensure the contract includes provisions for paying an escalating income-based concession fee to WAPA. And further resolve that the maintenance concession shall include provisions for the maintenance, demolition, scrapping, painting, and other minor improvements to the Pike Island Port Intermodal Rail Terminal, and the qualifications for the affiliate. Concessionaire shall include the ability throughout the term to finance the maintenance of the Pike Island Port Intermodal Rail Terminal. And further resolve that the maintenance concession shall include provisions for the transfer of all improvements made to the Pike Island Port Intermodal Rail Terminal, reassignment of active contracts, and include other necessary provisions to complete the transfer back to WAPA or to a maintenance concession with another entity at the termination of this contract. And further resolve that the concessionaire under this contract shall meet the CT-PAT requirements as outlined in Board Resolution 81. And further resolve that the maintenance concessionaire shall participate with the operating concessionaire and the Office of Executive Director in the Critical Infrastructure Asset Assessment, Prioritization, Data Management Program under the Department of Homeland Security Automated Critical Asset Management System and Protected Critical Infrastructure Information Program. Further resolve that the concessionaire shall acquire and hold throughout the term of the contract commercial liability, workman's compensation, and surety insurance, which shall cover maintenance, demolition, scrapping, and painting, and the total value of the contract. And further resolved that the concessionaire's internal accounting, proprietary information, and certain other information as allowed by law, except as provided for in the next paragraph, shall not be publicly disclosed. And further resolved that the concessionaire and its majority holding affiliates shall be part of the WAPA Omnibus public-private structure, and as such shall be subject to auditing by the State of West Virginia's Auditor Securities Division, and may also be subject to public release of some company information not normally released by government contractors. And further resolve that WAPA supports the concessionaire's participation as a host in the Veterans Mission Continues Program, Resolution 27 and 65. And further resolve that WAPA directs the Office of Executive Director include provisions in this contract to plan for the maintenance of the public commercial heliport and seaplane base airport as outlined in DR 40. And further resolve that the concessionaire shall support its employees, if they so choose, to conduct organizational efforts with local labor unions to include United Steelworkers 2911. Further resolve that prior to executing the concession, the executive director shall present the contract to the board for approval. Can I have a motion to consider Board Resolution 95? Dan Spahn, motion. Second. Ed Littlejohn, seconds. Comments, questions to the approval of the maintenance concession to an affiliate? Everybody's good? With no comments or questions, all in favor of approving Board Resolution 95, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Let the record show 95 passed. Soon we're going to be taking turns reading. Board Resolution 96, Structural Engineering, Pike Island Port Intermodal Rail Terminal. A Weirton Area Port Authority Board Resolution for the purpose of issuing a structural engineering contract for the Pike Island Port Intermodal Rail Terminal facility. Whereas WAPA recognizes that the Pike Island Port Intermodal Rail property closing is nearing completion, and as part of the closing, a structural assessment of the building is necessary to meet insurance and finance requirements. Therefore, let it be resolved that the board authorizes the executive director to negotiate a structural engineering contract with World International Testing of Steubenville, Ohio. This contract shall be performance-based and shall, one, be a limited contract covering only the structural engineering study of the Pike Island Pool Intermodal Rail Terminal, and two, include strict program management controls to ensure all activities of the contract are done to meet insurance and finance requirements. And further resolve that the contractor shall acquire and hold throughout the term of the contract commercial liability, workman's compensation, and surety insurance, which shall cover the structural engineering assessment and the total value of the contract. And further resolve that prior to executing the contract, the executive director shall present the contract to the board for approval. Can I have a motion to consider Resolution 96?
A motion.
Mark motioned, second.
Second.
Doug Bellinger, second. Comments, questions? Just for added edification, we follow the same qualification-based review, and I think they're one of the only ones in the region for non-destructive testing. And it's a key partner, I think, for Arcelor also, so they really align perfectly, local and everything else. With no comments and comments or questions? Right? Did we do the comments? Nobody had comments or questions? With no comments or questions, all in favor of approving Board Resolution 96, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show Resolution 96 passed. So we're on 97. Electrical concession. Can I introduce TS Electric? Jason, where's he at? There he is. TS Electric, I think I did tonight, I don't know. They've been involved for 2 years.
Long haul, brother.
They did a good job for us so far. So, all right. In reference to Board Resolution 97, electrical concession for the Pike Island Intermodal Rail Terminal. WAPA Master Plan, Board Resolution 27, Small Business Mentorship. 28, restricted access to port facilities and mandate use of TWIC. 34, WAPA support for union representation. 40, establish a public commercial heliport seaplane base. Written consent. 8, submit special rail and intermodal enhancement fund application. 63 was local port district critical infrastructure key resource protection. 65, support the Veterans Mission Continues Program. 77, procurement of commercial insurance, and 81, Customs Trade Partnership Against Terrorism, CTPAT. A Weirton Area Port Authority Board Resolution for the purpose of issuing an electrical supplier concession. Whereas the WAPA Board recognizes that the Pike Island Intermodal Rail Terminal property closing is nearing completion, and as such, WAPA is interested in offering a suitable and qualified affiliate a concession that includes providing licensed certified electrical services, including repair, installation, and design for the Pike Island Intermodal Rail Terminal and other WAPA controlled facilities. And whereas the board recognizes that electrical engineering services are necessary to determine exact requirements to ensure reliable, resilient electrical service of marine, rail, and air critical infrastructure, key resource infrastructure at locations where WAPA has control or interest that include but are not limited to the Pike Island Intermodal Rail Terminal and the Half Moon Industrial Park, rail spurs and rail yard. The Pike Island Pool Intermodal Rail Terminal and the Half Moon Industrial Park, rail spurs and rail yard in Weirton, West Virginia. Science and Technology Park and Airport, Martinsburg, West Virginia. Network Operations Center, Hollywood Center, Steubenville, Ohio. Whereas WAPA, by the adoption of Board Resolution 28, has established its requirement that all persons supporting, utilizing, and accessing port-related facilities must obtain and utilize DHS transportation worker identification credentials. And whereas WAPA has published the goal to establish a foreign trade zone under Resolution 81, has authorized the OED to establish a CTPAT program, among other actions. And whereas WAPA, under Resolution 63, declared certain infrastructure within the local port district as critical infrastructure key resource. And whereas the Critical Infrastructure Information Act of 2002 authorizes the protection of CIKR information, and the United States Department of Homeland Security satisfies the requirement of this legislation under the Protected Critical Infrastructure Information Program and the Automated Critical Asset Management System. Therefore, let it be resolved that the board authorizes the executive director to negotiate an electrical concession with a qualified affiliate. This concession or contract shall be performance-based and shall include a base contract of 5 years, include a base contract of 5 years with 2 5-year options, include strict program management controls to ensure all activities of the concession holder relating to the contract are done for public benefit, ensure the contract meets the requirements for filing with the Federal Maritime Commission under the procedures of the Shipping Act, Title 46, Chapter 4, Subchapter B, Part 535, and ensure the contract includes provisions for paying an escalating income-based concession to WAPA. And further resolve that the electrical concession shall include provisions for the electrical services, including but not limited to electrical repair, installation, and design for the Pike Island Pool Intermodal Rail Terminal, and the qualifications for the affiliate concessionaire shall include the ability throughout the term to finance these services. And further resolve that the electrical concession shall include provisions for the transfer of all improvements made on behalf of WAPA, reassignment of active contracts, and include other necessary provisions to complete the transfer back to WAPA or to a concession with another entity at the termination of this contract. And further resolve that the concessionaire under this contract shall meet the CTPAT requirements as outlined in Resolution 81. Further resolve that the electrical concessionaire shall participate with the operating concessionaire and the Office of Executive Director in the Critical Infrastructure Asset Assessment, Prioritization, and Data Management Program under the DHS Automated Critical Asset Management System and the Protected Critical Infrastructure Information Program. Further resolve that the concessionaire shall acquire and hold throughout the term of the contract commercial liability, workman's compensation, and surety insurance, which shall cover electrical services and the total value of the contract. Further resolve that the concessionaire's internal accounting, proprietary information, and certain other information as allowed by law, except as provided for in the next paragraph, shall not be publicly disclosed. Further resolve that the concessionaire and its majority holding affiliates shall be part of WAPA Omnibus public-private structure, and as such shall be subject to audit by the State of West Virginia's Auditor's Securities Division, and may also be subject to public release of some company information not normally released by government contractors. And further resolve that WAPA supports the concessionaire's participation as a host in the Veterans Mission Continues Program, Resolutions 27 and 65. Further resolve that WAPA directs the Office of Executive Director to include provisions in this contract to plan for electrical services, repair, installation, and design for public commercial heliport and seaplane-based airport as outlined in Resolution 40. Further resolve that the concessionaire's employees are members of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers and meets the intent of Board Resolution 34. Further resolve that prior to executing the concession, the Executive Director shall present the contract to the Board for approval. Can I have a motion for consideration of Board Resolution 97? Farley, second. Dan Spahn, second. Comments or questions for the electrical concession? Just to add a comment from me, TS Electric participated with us at the Marine Terminal, did an excellent job. Some of the best, electrical work I've seen in a long time. Meet all the requirements. The guys were great, so I appreciate their support. With no comments or questions, all in favor of approving Resolution 97, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Two more. Board Resolution 98, Propagation Engineering, Pike Island Pool Intermodal Rail Terminal. A Weirton Area Port Authority Board Resolution for the purpose of issuing a propagation engineering study contract for the Pike Island Pool Intermodal Rail Terminal facility. Whereas the WAPA Board recognizes that the Pike Island Pool Intermodal Rail Terminal property closing is nearing completion and as part of the closing, a propagation study is necessary to determine exact communication requirements, feasibility, and complexity of the mesh network necessary to ensure reliable, resilient communications of marine, rail, and air CIKR infrastructure at the Pike Island Pool Intermodal Rail Terminal and Halfland Industrial Park Rail Spurs and Rail Yard, Weirton, West Virginia, at the Science and Technology Park and Airport, Martinsburg, West Virginia, and at the Network Operations Center, Hollywood Center, Steubenville, Ohio. Therefore, let it be resolved that the board authorizes the executive director to negotiate a propagation engineering study contract with GE MDS, which is Microwave Data Systems, at 175 Scenic Parkway, Rochester, New York. This engineering study, this contract shall be performance-based and shall be a limited contract covering only the propagation engineering study and include strict program management controls to ensure all activities of the contract are done to meet the insurance and financing requirements. And further resolve that the contractor shall acquire and hold throughout the term of the contract commercial liability, workman's compensation, and surety insurance, which shall cover the structural engineering, should cover the propagation engineering assessment, and the total value of the contract. Further resolve that prior to executing the contract, the executive director shall present the contract to the board for approval. Can I have a motion to consider board resolution 98? Ed Littlejohn, motion, second?
Second.
Doug seconds. Comments, questions on resolution 98? No comments or questions? All in favor of approving 98, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, let's record show 98 is approved. Catch up on some signatures. And it's the shortest one, so. Board Resolution 99, Private Placement Council, Pike Island Pool Intermodal Rail Terminal. A Weirton Area Port Authority Board Resolution for the purpose of engaging the legal firm of Buckley King as WAPA Private Placement Counsel. Whereas the WAPA Board recognizes that the Pike Island Pool Intermodal Rail Terminal project closing is nearing completion, and legal counsel with requisite talent and background is necessary to complete the private placement portion of the financial package. Therefore, let it be resolved that the board authorize the executive director to enter into an agreement with the legal firm of Buckley King of Cleveland, Ohio, as independent legal counsel covering the private placement portion of the financial package and other Pike Island Pool Intermodal Rail Terminal acquisition-related legal matters. Can I have a motion to consider board resolution 99?
So,
Ed Littlejohn, motion, second.
Second.
Doug Bellinger, seconds. Comments and questions for resolution 99?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
have we looked at any law firms around here that do that?
We went through 20 law firms.
We could only find one.
With private placements, with financing, private placement, yeah, that was, I think we went through 18 local, and the Pittsburgh included in that. A lot of them don't do this kind of financing, private placement. As far as we interviewed them, we went through all of it. Whether they were interested or capable, or conflicts, a lot of different conflicts with law firms. Any other comments or questions? No comments, questions? All in favor of approving board resolution 99, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show 99 is approved. Okay. All right, MJ, when you're ready to slide. Thanks. All right, so we're going to do some key performance indicators, like we do typically every month. Looking at the governance, monthly public meetings now, we've had a total of 53. public meetings. I think all of them had a quorum, 100%. I think we've had any.
Way back through the years, we might have had 3 or 4 without quorum.
We've had approved resolutions, total 84, and that doesn't count these, though. These are just approved, so there's 84 plus 7 more. Written consents total over the last 4 years, 13. We only rejected 1 resolution, that was to dissolve, which we're not going to do. We amended 2 resolutions, and we have 4 still in committee. Our Facebook status of our followers is up from last month from 394 to 455 this month, which is a pretty big jump, which was good. And the attendance, October we had 36. This is November.
Yeah.
So I think we had 40. I think I shifted it off. But we had 40, approximately 40 last month. So we're in the 30 to 40, sometimes 50 range.
In October, we had 36.
October we had 36.
Yeah, October 29th. The approximate is because we're
estimated.
here at
Yeah.
this meeting now.
Right, okay, good. Okay, next slide. Volunteers. We're growing on the volunteer side. We're up to 24. We have 4 more. They're participating in WAPA, link boards, etc. Applications received is up to 23, 7 new ones. Today, the participants in the terminal training are 4. We have 28 FEMA certificates that have been earned. And the first basic level 1 and level 2 training, we have 9 completed level 1 and 4 level 2. And then we also have some 6 Sigma certifications occurring. We have 5 white belts. We don't have any yellow or green. And then we have 1 black belt, which is the finance, which is Don Newberry. He's heading up our finance side for the Office of the Executive Director. Past experiences, Cliffs Resources out of Cleveland. A lot of good finance project background, company finance, and especially in the industry that we're in, so that's very good. Terminal security, TWIC credentials. We're up to a total of 18 folks with TWIC identification credentials. We have 39 Department of Homeland Security sensitive secure information non-disclosure agreements signed, and 14 folks have access to the CTPAT portal. And in the portal is where we share a lot of the documents with our partners. So it's not only, it's in the Customs and Trade Partnership Against Terrorism, it's also a good tool for sharing and keeping compliance and control aspects to the documentation and not having them willy-nilly floating around out there. Go ahead, MJ. I showed this slide last month, but this is the organizational structure of the Weirton Area Port Authority. At the top, I'm the chairman, obviously. We have a general counsel, Bill Galloway. He wasn't able to attend tonight. Other appointments. We have board composition is made up of the 4 groups shown: professional, ex officio, USW labor, and we have 3 seats for 1 each for Brooke and Hancock County and 1 for the city of Weirton open. We have Master at Arms, which you met Marty, the board of directors, charter committees. We talked a little bit about finance with Dan Spickard, who's out sick today, as a sponsor from the board. Labor and HR, Santos Santoro. Asset committee, John Dietz, he had another engagement. And the operations is Mr. Valgal. And then we have the Office of Executive Director, where the actual executive group that manages the business activities out of this office are established under Mr. Keffers, the interim executive director. We have administrative assistant, Ms. Doak, and she helps with Master at Arms also. An in-house advisory council, I introduced you to Bruce Clark with Bailey Alliant. Then we have different financial officer, Don Newberry, compliance officer, Mike Tipton, program officer, Marty? Yes, Marty's the program officer, and he's interim Master at Arms. Logistics and rail operations is Randy Thomas, again out of Cliffs Resources Rail. Technology and operations officer is MJ Johnson. Business development. Who's business development? What?
I don't know where.
Tom Tom Moorhead, that's right, I forgot about Tom, he's not here, sorry, Tom. All right,
He's on the
next,
golf course.
he's on the golf course. Yeah,
They
he's-
didn't allow cell phones.
He's been in the south in the warm. All right, next slide, MJ. Another organizational structure that shows the public-private partnership. Again, some people say it's complicated. I don't really think it's that complicated. The public, which we just looked at, that side, and the Office of Executive Director is a business aspect of the Port Authority. Then we have the not-for-profit, which is in the middle, WINK we call it, that bridges the gap between the public and the private in a lot of the project and process aspects. Also the public benefit side. Then we have private affiliates, West Virginia Real Estate Trust, that handles the real estate management oversight. Tri-State Port Management is the focal point, is port management and operations, foreign trade zone type operational aspects, and West Virginia Port Communications for the technology and communications. And that allows the investment community to not only allows us to manage our business, but the investment community, there are different type of investors in institutional size that do real estate, which is a completely different business model than technology. So instead of trying to put it all together, it's ease of management for us, but it's also an alignment to a lot of the government aspects, the requirements, but also the institutional finance. Go ahead, MJ.
You wanted to do Q&A.
Yeah, now this is the list of what we're going to talk about before we go to executive session. And today we're going to have it in here, so when we do have it, we're going to ask everyone to step outside, and those who want to wait, can wait, come back in. If we have anything to vote on, we'll do it in public. But before that, I usually open it up for questions or comments from the public. You know, some of you, Mr. Welch's first time, and I'm good friend with his brother. He's probably got a million, none yet, but others that have been involved, or if you have any questions, you know, this is the time to ask. I know, Joe, you got one. Good.
I only have about 6.
Only 6? Go ahead.
The private placement account,
Yes.
how does that affect Galloway?
Now, Bill is the general counsel for WAPA.
He's the watchdog over there.
He's the Port Authority, helps us with general legal, all general legal matters. The private placement focuses on the private financing, SEC regulations and all that, Jobs Act or whatever laws, all the diligence, they manage that. So that we ensure that any financing comes in here, it comes in fully diligent and compliant, so it's a separate.
What connection does Bill with that at all, or
They don't, I don't think he'll do too much with this directly, but he'll have relationships between that as needed, so he reviews.
He would be like the board's watchdog?
Yeah, he helps review things for us, but that counsel will be key in ensuring compliance to the transaction for WAPA, not just for the private side. That's a specialty they have, so
Bill's scope will be broader,
yeah.
and
It's more general, and this is like, it's like, you know, being a general doctor and then being a heart surgeon.
Somebody's got to do Dutch law.
Well, no, the port is, I mean, we're all oversight, I mean, the law is too. The SEC's in control of a lot of it too, so, yeah, go ahead. Mark?
Oh, the only other one I got would be the, when you start doing these studies and that, there's usually some cash involved. I don't see any cash figures here, but that's not what that's going to cost.
In the resolution, yeah, well, in the resolution, it's up to the Office of Executive Director to negotiate with that, but the resolution, they finance that so that at the end, and the financing will come through the affiliate or the Office of Executive Director who engages them. So if it's an affiliate, West Virginia Port Communications, which is it's the Office of Executive Director in this case, the financing and the private placement, as the money moves through the check boxes and the diligence, it'll be paid for out of that. That hasn't been.
Brought out at a public meeting?
Yeah, the contract will come back to the board. So we should be discussing high-level proposals. We're not going to get into a lot of the details. But yeah, it's a public contract if it's with WAPA. And now if it's a contract with a private, the top-level stuff will come. Again, the resolution requires that it comes to the board. So it has to come to the board, so we'll talk about it when it comes to it next month. Hopefully. Any other comments, questions? And one other thing I didn't get to do is introduce, I did introduce Mr. Joe Duco, Tim Taylor, and Mark Kazmarek. They all went today and attended. Well, I'll let Tim tell you what the title, remember the title of the training?
Yeah, it was the point of sales threat training. It was with the FBI, the CIA, the Secret Service, and it had a lot to do with cybersecurity. And and the threat that it presents to all businesses.
Transactions, point of
Yep,
sale.
Yep, point of sale transactions, and it was very, very in-depth. It was at least an 8-hour-long event, and they covered a lot of information up there.
And that was sponsored by the U.S. Coast Guard Pittsburgh. Joe, you want to have anything you want to add?
No, they have done it.
They had guns. I'm sure some of them had guns.
A lot of badges up there.
But
we got away.
You were the whole reason they had training. And Mark's not here, so he can't add. But yeah, I want to thank you guys for that, and they've done a great job down at organizing the tournament for us too. Any other comments, questions from the rest of the evening? What's that?
Back in the old days, where did steel security carrying guns?
Yeah. He will, they will. Not yet.
How about this poor guy that's in charge down at the port? I remember the fellow used to be in there, he was in a little booth out there, people driving by, and he had nothing.
As we get fully stood up, it's likely that'll be, especially when it gets to foreign trade zones, obviously. But the restricted areas and the controlled areas will have whatever minimum requirements, foreign trade zone will be that. Yeah, they'll be official.
You don't want to take care of this, so about like.
No fisted on fight. All right, any other? Okay, with no more comments or questions, we're gonna, first, I guess we can make a motion to go into executive session. We'll give Mark his quiet. Second by Edward John. Mark with this motion, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so if everyone can step outside any which way, go to the Oh, that's okay. Okay, so we discussed, yeah, thanks, Jay. There he is. Can I have a motion to return from executive session?
Motion?
Second? Second. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Okay, so we're back from executive session, and a little summary. We reviewed a variety of, we went through some of the business side legal activities that are going on, we reviewed some of the financials and insurance status. We looked at some of the new projects, a lot of what we've talked about in these meetings, and we didn't have anything that we needed to vote on today, so we're not going to have any votes for the executive session. And with that, the meeting is over. So what I'd like to ask for is a motion to adjourn. Second? Farley, all in favor?
Hey, have a good holiday.
All right, the meeting's adjourned.
Everybody have.